Hi, I'm Mr. Oliver. We're going to go over the welding safety today. So all the information I'm going to give you is information that is on the test. So we'll go at it. So this is one of the welders at the high school, which is somewhat the same as what's at CB Tech. It's a 6-pack. The only difference is this is these machines are remote, so it doesn't have a control cable. It goes to the booth. It's by remote, which makes it kind of handy. So one of the questions on the test is, when arc welding, one should wear a what? And so the choices are leather clothing, heavy coat, cotton gloves, or tinted glasses. Well, here's the answer right here. Leather is the best. Leather lasts. All material or flame retardant coats. So that would be the answer to that, would be leather. When welding, do not use cables that are spliced, soldered, cracked and frayed. So it's all of these. So I found one. So you wouldn't want to use this cable, because if it came across your ground, it would arc right there. So, and this looks like it happened, somebody put a hot piece of metal on it or something. So it's damaged, and it just has to be thrown out, because you can't splice welding cables. It's just not a good idea to go there. So another question on the test is, for proper eye protection when welding, use the minimum shade of, so these are kind of cool helmets. So this one's on 13. So you want a minimum of 10. Although this goes down to a 9. And then when it's on grind, usually it's about a 4 or a 5. So I wouldn't go below 10 on a helmet. It's you can tell by the end of the day, if you have it on 9, your eyes will be sore. So the answer to that one would be 10. That would be the proper shade for arc welding, not to be mixed up with gas welding. So another question on the test is, welding directly on a concrete floor can cause the floor to, is the question. And if you look right here, one. So there was probably molten metal there. So what happens is that molten metal gets on there and it explodes. So it'll send cement flying every which way, and molten metal sometimes. So you don't want to cut over the concrete, because and even when you're welding, you should have something underneath you. That's why they're on a pole, and usually you have a table in your booth. So there's the table. So that's where you don't want to weld on the table like this one though, because that just isn't cool. So when working in an area with other people, what should be done before a weld is struck? And the choices are, check the electrode holder. So here's an electrode holder right here. And so you want to check the cables for cuts, like that one burned, and also burnt insulators. So these right here, so those end up, you can see those are damaged right there a little bit. Another thing that happens, see that screw? So it's supposed to look like this. So what happens is that screw gets loose and it works its way out. And then you set this on the table. And that's probably what happened. and so it arced right there. So you want to look at those and make sure they're, let the instructor know so we can repair them. So, and the other question is, the welding machine will be shut off. So the answer to this is an arc will be struck. So when working in an area with other people, what should be done before an arc is struck, and that's, oh, that one is all of these. So if the electrode holder if you place an electrode holder on a grounded table with the machine on, what can happen? So that's what happened right here. They set that on there and an arc was struck. So that one would be, an arc will be struck. Electrode stubs. So this the can's for the stubs, and that's the answer to that question. Hot metal should only be handled with pliers, not gloves, because that was probably ground in there, but what it does is it hardens the leather, and we go through a lot of gloves here, so you'd want to refrain from picking up hot metal with a pair of gloves. Welding cables should be protected from, so this would be the cable, and you notice it's on the floor, so you don't want to weld over that. You want to just kick it off to the side. You don't want to cut on it. You don't want flames on it. You don't want to have excessive amperage or voltage, so you don't want to crank the machine up. Here's how you adjust this one. You don't want to crank it up so high that it will get the cables hot. So you don't need that much heat if the cables are getting really hot, unless you've been welding all day. So the amperage setting should be made while the machine is, and the answer is not under a load. In other words, I have this one on. So if somebody's welding, so there's a load, there's power going through it. You don't want to adjust these while somebody's welding, while the machine is under a load. Some machines, I don't know about this one yet, but some machines it'll ruin the machine. It'll blow out the motherboard in it. So you don't want to do that. So the answer to the amperage setting should be made while the machine is not under a load. So any cuts or burns should be reported to the teacher. So you don't want to get hurt and not say anything. So there's a lot to get hurt in this place, okay? A lot. But whether you think it's a bad cut or not so bad cut, I need to know about it. And let me determine if it's a good or bad cut. Another thing that we have new in here this year, if a student's clothes catch on fire, this is called a fire blanket. It'll help put them out. You wrap them in it, okay? And this will be over on the wall. It's not locked up. It's for you to grab if somebody's on fire. When welding, you should never have blank in your pocket. So I think this one was on the oxyacetylene test as well, and that would be a lighter. So when you're in your booth, you do not want to have a lighter on you. I've heard a story about a guy that had a lighter in his pocket. Spark went in it, it exploded, killed him. So if you smoke, don't have your lighter in your pocket in here. I wouldn't even have matches. I had some matches go off in my pocket once from welding. So saturation of clothing be it moisture or perspiration, increases the risk of, and the answer is electrocution. So it rained last night, and this booth is notorious for leaking. So we want to be careful. You want to probably not go in this booth, or we would get it all dried up. It's actually still dripping. So we'll try to fix that. But so you don't want to wear wet clothes. It's not a good idea. I've never seen anybody get electrocuted welding, but yeah, and I know it does happen. When welding, the operator should never lay or stand in the answer is damp ground. So you don't want to stand here while you're welding, okay? Not good. When starting to arc weld, the operator should turn on the exhaust fan. Well, that's what this is. So we want that on. Looks a little shabby though, but it'll suck the smoke out. And you want to clean up the debris. So this particular booth would need to be cleaned up before you would want to work in it. And the most important thing is you want to shield others from your arc rays. However you can do that. That's important. Gloves used for welding should be, the choices: gauntlet gloves, cotton gloves, synthetic gloves, or work gloves. So this would be a work glove, and this would be a gauntlet glove. So the gauntlet glove is better because you can't have stuff go down your sleeves like you could, or down your cuff, like right there on these. For TIG welding, these are okay, but for arc welding, you want the gauntlet glove. And the answer to that question is the gauntlet glove. Careful handling of compressed gas cylinders includes keeping the cap in place, fastening in upright position, and labeling when empty. So this bottle, before you would move it, you would put the cap on, you would roll it outside, chain it to the fence, put a ring over the top so everybody knows that it's empty, and then when you bring a new one back in, you'd bring it in. You'd put a chain on it, not a rope, not anything else but a chain, and chain it back to the wall. So the answer to that one would be all of these. So you want to label it as empty, fasten it in an upright position, and keep the cap in place. The welding area should be kept free of, so the choices are grease, fuel, and solvents. So you don't want anything like that in here. No gas, no acetone, all which we have in this class, but you don't want them in here. Ultraviolet rays, infrared rays, and electrodes. Well, you're going to have electrodes here. So the answer to this one is grease, fuel, and solvents. So the last question, arc welding produces harmful light rays. Not noise, not heat, not gas, okay? So the answer to arc welding produces harmful would be light rays. So you want to keep that shut so it keeps everybody safe. So that's the arc welding safety, okay? If you have any questions before you take the test, email me and or text me, and I'll try to answer them for you. So we'll that's good.